So getting into acting, because a lot of my friends who are, especially West African,
Yes, sir.
you know, and they get into entertainment, whether it be music or acting, or any other forms of like creativity, it's not really the norm in terms of like career paths. It's normally doctor, engineer, lawyer, accountant.
We have all of those in the family. We have.
So like, it's interesting because I felt like, not to say your parents didn't take a conventional route, but to own a pub. And be from Africa. And have a pub in the East End. Would have been quite different at that time. So like for you to then take up, you know, acting, how did your parents react to that?
I was never. You can trace it back to anyone who knew me from primary school. No one is surprised that I'm doing what I'm doing. Not because I was the loudest or whatever. I was a very smart kid, but I was always performing. I was always doing something. I was, whether it was music in assembly, writing a song. I've still got like year 6. I played a song. I had my guitar. I played a song. I got a little kind of Michael Jackson hat. Played a song with my guitar that I wrote about some girl that broke my heart as a kid or whatever. You know what I mean? And so my parents, there was never going to be anything else that I was going to do. And you can ask parents, family, they always knew to some degree I was going to be in this world. Because my dad was a showman, bless his soul. You had to be a showman being a pub landlord.
Of course.
And furthermore, he's dressing in the traditional regalia. My dad didn't wear a suit and tie. Sometimes he might have bust like one of them Nehru suits, like Mao Zedong. You know them suits that every man in there think the with the grandpa around. Yeah. Dad would do that, but most of the time he was in abada. He was in traditional attire, and so I was never going to be doing anything else. And a pivotal moment for me in my life was like when I was 17, and it was the first time my mum and dad had to parent me in a certain way. Like, I remember coming home. I was living in Birmingham at the time. I was doing Doctors, the TV show. I was a regular on that. I'd come home and I had like my first girlfriend at the time. She's a actress on TV, and you know, amazing, lovely woman. And I've got my own apartment in Birmingham. I'm supposed to be doing my A-levels, but I'm not, because I'm on TV. I'm regular on TV. I'm earning money. I've got trainer money. I've got my own trainer money. So I'm just like, I'm literally buying out the whole store. When I'm going to the ball ring. And so they're seeing this change from this 16-year-old who's done his GCSEs, and I did really well. Like I had 3 months out while I was doing the Crouches, and then I came back and I got like the highest marks in the school. So I was a very good student and stuff. And I was just like, I was supposed to do 1 episode of Doctors. They wrote a part for me, and then I played a regular. So I remember coming home, my mum sat me down. She put out the fine china in the living room. And when she puts out the fine china and tea, you know something serious is going to happen. She turns into Hyacinth Bouquet. And then like she was like, what are you doing with your life? And I was like, what do you mean? It's like, you're going to university. You're gonna once this TV thing is finished, you're going to university and you're gonna do this. And I was like, no, I'm not. It's like, you lot set me up in this thing. I've been going to drama club since I was 10. Shout out to Pollyanna Children's Theatre in Wapping. Going to drama club since I was 10. I've been playing guitar since I was 10. I've been doing music. You've been encouraging everything. And I've got this opportunity like that. I'm not going to retreat on it because I'm smart. So if I want to go to university and study something as a plan B, sure, I could, but I don't want to. I just have GCSEs. That's all I have. Some men have uni degrees and AS, A2. I remember sitting, and this is bad, kids, don't follow me. I remember sitting an AS thing and I hadn't revised. I think someone has my exam paper somewhere where I was just writing bare waffle. Because I was like, I live in Birmingham. I'm an actor. Like my call time is X, X o'clock, And so I remember saying to my mum and dad, like, look, I'm not going to do that. And it was my first moment of having to defy them in a certain way. And it was the first time that they were really African parents in that way. And so that was a pivotal moment because I think they said like, all right, this kid, this is what he wants to do. And then just to prove the point, I took the remote control and I went bang, 2:15, Doctors was on, and you see my big head on the title sequence, like turning to camera and stuff. So they couldn't say nothing, like it ruined their argument. And then further to that point, they had people, African families and Black families in general, we operate on a kind of embarrassment spectrum. So like, or a kind of pride and embarrassment spectrum. So it was when their friends started seeing me and giving them the pride. Like, oh, we are so proud. He's on Doctors. The doctor. I was a receptionist, but they're like, he's the doctor. That doctor. Yes. It was all of that stuff. And it was like, that made them go, okay. So they were like, all right, cool. And then that year, actually, I won an award for like the Screen Nation Awards. And, you know, full circle, I finally got the award 20 years later this year, but that's another conversation. But yeah, I won an award. And for my parents, it was like, oh, he's really doing it. And he wants to. And the fact that I was able to stand on my square was important for them. So to your point about the African parents thing, that was the generation that we're from, ever so slightly younger than us. They've grown into it. So like I have cousins that are like KSI. They're what I call NLBs, non-London blacks. You know what I mean? They're non-London blacks. And so we sort of looked at them like, you're not from the turf in any way. Like, please stop using the slang. Stop it. You're not cool in that way. And so at the time,
on, my G.
Yeah, exactly. Like really good kids, solid kids, private school kids, and actually, and it was that KSI. Shout out to him and all of the content creators that are doing their thing. They've benefited from the just being slightly young and having slightly younger parents who weren't saddled with that responsibility of like, oh, I'm hustling for cousins and aunties and brothers and sisters back home. There's a bit more bandwidth to parent in a kind of white way. And I remember recently saying to my mum, she's probably gonna hate hearing this. I remember having conversations with her and saying like, Mummy, I'm gonna need you to parent me like a white parent, you know, with that unswerving love, like where it's like, Gulliver, you can do whatever you want. Gulliver, you know the words. Gulliver, come on, oh, Gulliver's amazing. Everyone look at Gulliver's drawing, it's amazing. And so, but to that point, it's like, you know, there's a generation now who benefit because parents have seen the end goal a lot more feasibly. Like, you know, when you see these content creators and the parents are getting involved in the content and all that,
man.
It's a big thing. Because can you imagine doing that in 1991 or 92 and being like, oh, I'm going to be a YouTuber? Didn't exist. Wow, but I mean, just the idea that like you was going to go, because we've got some amazing people in the family. Like one of my uncles owns he owns a bunch of studios in Shoreditch. We actually shot the kind of main pictures of Black Ops there at my uncle's studio. The BBC didn't know that it was a family thing. But in the 90s, he was seen as a renegade amongst the family. They're like, oh, he's gone off the rails because he was doing something that was unconventional. So he was part of like the kind of cool scenes. And now he owns like a kind of swathe of Shoreditch in terms of like studios and arches and all that. So look, parents, and I'm not a parent yet, but parents just want to see their kids be successful. So to give my parents their respect, they did encourage everything I did. And they, you know, was terrible at football, but they played for David Banks football coaching with them rock hard balls, boy. Them rock hard footballs that would break your head. I was terrible. I tried to do roller hockey. I was terrible. After seeing Mighty Ducks, I was terrible.
Oh, he's one of them kids that got inspired.
Listen, when I saw D2, the Mighty Ducks, I was like, I'm doing that. I am going to be a Mighty Duck. Shout out to the Islington Panthers. That was my team. We used to play it like, we used to play it hybrid in school. And I played one game. I think I scored once. But I was terrible. But my parents encouraged that. Music and acting were the things that stuck. And they encouraged that. So I've got to give my parents their props in that respect. And they loved me precisely how I needed to be loved for that time, and to their credit, like I'm a successful person.